Is being called the most serious threat in decades to affirmative action at the nation's public and private colleges and universities. The U.S. Supreme Court agreeing to hear challenges to the admissions process at two schools. NBC's Chris Pallone joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Chris, two cases naming Harvard and the University of North Carolina will be heard by the court, which now has a conservative majority. What can you tell us about these cases?
Yeah, hi there, Sheba. Essentially, this group, Students for Fair Admissions, formed by a man named Edward Blum, who has long been challenging policies at universities and schools, as well as voting rights laws that use some sort of component as race as a factor. They brought these lawsuits against these two institutions, and they were selected because Harvard is a private university that gets federal funding. UNC, of course, is a public university. So they allege that Harvard's admission practices, which use race as one factor, discriminates essentially against Asians, and at UNC, their admission policy discriminates against Asian and white students. And so they've been losing in the lower courts. Now it makes it all the way to the Supreme Court, which, as you mentioned, has a new super majority of conservative justices. And this could be the first major change in affirmative action policies in higher education since 2003.
So you mentioned the lower courts ruling in favor of these schools here. Finding the use of race in a limited way helps to achieve a more diverse student population. So the challenger here, the Students for Fair Admissions, what are they specifically asking the Supreme Court to do?
Well, they're asking the Supreme Court to rule that using race as somewhat of a shorthand, if you will, or an indicator of certain characteristics in students is unconstitutional. They say that if these universities want to create a diverse population, they have to do it based on other traits, not using race at all. In the past, the courts have held that race can be used in a limited way, as you mentioned, as just what they say a plus factor, just one extra factor in the many things that schools take a look at when they decide who to admit to their schools. This group, backed by this man who brought these lawsuits, essentially is saying that these schools will no longer be able to take race into a consideration in all the things that they consider, because it's unconstitutional to single students out based on race.
Yeah, they no longer want for race to be used as that A+ factor. And we should mention that for a long time here, racial quotas and admissions have been barred, but schools have been able to use this A+ factor, and it could put a number of programs in serious jeopardy across the country. The Supreme Court expected to hear these cases in the fall. Chris Pallone, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Sure.